but we'll transition into our top 10 modern horror films of all time. There's going to be a ranking, and we're going to do the same old way we always do. We'll do our 10 through 6s, and then we'll go one by one, 5 through 1. So I'd imagine we all have our list ready to go. Let's start off with any honorable mentions, because I'll go first. So honorable mentions, purely not because they missed the ranking, but because, like I mentioned to you guys before we recorded, horror is a genre that there's a lot of movies that maybe aren't primarily a horror, but that's a secondary genre. And I kept my list to just primary genre horrors. So these 4 movies I'm about to list as honorable mentions would have made my top 10, but they're primarily a different genre. So I'm not going to include them. And that would include Bones and All. You guys know how much I love that movie more than most people, but I really enjoyed that. Searching.
Has that got horror on it? Body horror, I guess.
Yeah. It's like a romance horror. And then Searching is like a thriller, drama, horror, which I really enjoyed. Searching. The Menu, also more of a thriller, but it is classified on IMDb secondly as a horror. And then Under the Skin, which is, I don't even know what genre Under the Skin primarily would be, but it has horror as its second genre.
Mystery horror?
Yeah, it actually is. Yeah, never mind. Mystery is the main one, and then horror is on there, and then sci-fi as well. So those are the 4 that would have made my top 10 if I did any movie that had horror attached to it, but I only did primary, so those are my honorable mentions. Whoever's ready can go next.
So I got a few honorable mentions. So I went on like IMDb as well. I went on, but if they had it even as a secondary on both IMDb and Letterboxd, kind of counted it. So the ones that won't be making it, Black Swan, I do think is primarily thriller. That probably would have made my 10. Also, Take Shelter as well probably would have made my 10. Train to Busan probably would have made my 10. That could be argued, actually. I'm going to say no for now because I've not put it in. And then also, what's it called? In fact, that's probably it. Those 3.
George, any honorable mentions, or are you good to go?
Yeah, I have a few. I mean, I'm going to do the same thing you guys did. Obviously, like if you look at my ranking on Letterboxd, like I include Black Swan, I include like Mandy, but because I'm gonna go primary genre is gonna be horror here, so I'm gonna toss Black Swan in my honorable mentions. I'm also gonna toss Annihilation in my honorable mentions, and then my other honorable mentions, Mandy, and that's it. I'll shout out it. I'll shout out A Quiet Place.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Let's dive into our ranking. So we'll go 10 through 6 and then just read them off. So I'll go first here. So coming number 10 for me is David Cronenberg's Crimes of the Future. And then at number, which I know I enjoyed more than most people, but still really did. Number 9 for me is Nope, Jordan Peele. Number 8 is Midsummer. Number 7 is Pearl. And number 6 is Beau is Afraid.
Wow. I did not know you thought that highly of Pearl or Crimes of the Future. Honestly.
I mean, you got to think I've seen so many less horrors.
Oh yeah, okay, that's fair.
That's fair. But still, like number 10, like Crimes of the Future. Like, let's see, I don't know what I have. I think it's like it's a 4-star for me. So it's not like it's not like last week where I'm going to like. Bad
I had 4 stars in mine.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yep.
So I'll go. Okay, so my 10 is Kill List, which I think is a horror. George, horror.
I would call it, I would definitely call it horror.
My 9 is the first Conjuring, a very, very good film. My 8 is the horror comedy One Cut of the Dead. George, you've seen that, obviously.
I have, yes.
My 7 is, this is a bit of like a different one. It's I Saw the Devil, which I think George and I spoke about before. So I did check on IMDb and Wikipedia also lists as a thriller horror, so I'm going to take it. I Saw the Devil. And at 6, I'm going to go another one that George has seen, Shinya Sakamoto's Kotoko, which is the horror is the primary genre on that, which is, just a whirlwind of anxiety. So I'll go with that as my 10 to 6.
I'm going to give one more shout out to Cabin in the Woods. That was originally my number 10, but then I completely forgot about another film that I'm about to mention. So my number 10 now is Jordan Peele's Nope. Movie just caters to me. Science fiction horror, a lot of cool like nods to the past. Number 9, one of my favorite horror comedies out there, Ready or Not. I've been preaching that movie forever. I fucking love that thing. Number 8, a movie we just talked about pretty extensively, Robert Eggers' The Witch. Number 7 belongs to The Conjuring. And number 6, The film I had originally forgot off my list because I was thinking maybe it's not a horror, maybe it is a horror, but Seth included it. So my number 6 is I Saw the Devil.
All right, now we'll get into our number 5 movies. For me, again, a movie we've already talked about extensively on here, so no need to go too deeply into it. But Hereditary, terrifying, layered with symbolism and deeper meanings. A fun movie, not only for the scares and the thrills, but a fun movie to sink your teeth into after it's over and read deeper into some of what was going on. I'm sure it's a movie that benefits from a rewatch as well. But yeah, number 5 for me is Ari Aster's debut in Hereditary.
Number 5 for me is Robert Eggers' The Witch. No, it's not. Number 5 for me is Robert Eggers' The Lighthouse. That's what it is. Yeah, I mean, again, thriller, horror. It's a weird one. I'd probably say it's a bit of both. I think The Lighthouse is absolutely fantastic in pretty much every way. I think it works as just an ambiguous, dark mystery that unravels itself perfectly throughout. So much rewatch value. So much you can go into with it, and I think Pattinson and Willem Dafoe are just two sublime performances, and probably some of the best performances of, was it 2019 or 18? Remind me.
19.
Wow, that's 19 was actually a really good year. Thinking about it, it's crazy. Yeah, so my number 5 is The Lighthouse.
My number 5 is David Robert Mitchell's It Follows. This is just one of my favorite displays of suspense. It's a very slow burn, but it's just infused with so many like creepy sequences, so many just glorious horror shots that I just consistently think about. I absolutely love like this unique take on sex and horror. It's a very interesting blend that I don't think we've ever seen before, and I think David Robert Mitchell just does such a good job at turning it into this incredibly suspenseful and very, unnerving experience.
There is one scene, George, in It Follows, which did scare me. Do you know what scene that is?
Got to be the one where, like, she's in the doorway and the guy walks into the doorway.
The fucking tall guy.
Yeah, that shit fucks me. Yeah, that shit is so. One of my favorite shots in like any horror movie ever is towards the end when they're like in the pool area at I guess their high school. There's one shot where like half the screen is the pool. It's like you're looking down. Half the screen is the pool. Half the screen is like the tile, and you just see her hand slowly moving towards. I was like, that shot. That's it. That's the entire shot, and it just fucking creeped me out like crazy.
I do need to rewatch it. I'd be keen to see what Tyler's thoughts are on that film. Actually, I think Tyler, you could either give it like a 1-star or a 4-star. Honestly,
yeah, that's one that was kind of added to Tyler's book report last week. But kind of as we mentioned, there's a Friday right now we're filming this, and we normally film on weekends. So the only days that have passed since we last recorded are weekdays, which I'm working, so didn't have like time on the weekends. And like I mentioned, I've been watching so much Love Island because I'm working. So like I can't, like I'm not, that would be just unfair. Like you guys tell me, here's a horror you should watch. Okay, I'm going to throw it on while I'm working. Like that wouldn't really be fair to the spirit of this. So I think what I'm going to do is next week I'll be reviewing them all because I'm going to get this whole weekend to watch them and get caught up to speed. So if you remember that from last week, that's kind of waiting for the weekend so I can watch them, and I'll review them next week so I can watch them without having to multitask, which wouldn't be fair to anyone. But number 4 for me is from last year, actually, The Black Phone. Riley and I saw it together. Yeah, I know we're higher on it than most people. We had a really fun time with The Black Phone. I
didn't expect that.
We drove home and we like talked about it extensively. Like we were talking so much. I filmed the TikTok review of it, and she was like in it. We like kind of reviewed it together. It was like way early in my TikTok days because it was like early-ish 2022. So that was a fun review. But it was one we just watched, and then we just kind of sat out on our back porch. We were talking about like the lore and the history behind the grabber, and some of the other kids, and like there's some deeper stuff we were trying to dive into that we just had a really fun time with. And then the movie itself was a fun little movie, and Ethan Hawke. And a very interesting Ethan Hawke role that was fun to see, which I still don't know if that was him or not under the mask, but he was jacked if he was, or he was just like a big guy. So I don't know. I don't know. I'd like to think Ethan Hawke got a little beefed up because the thing is he wasn't like shredded. I think he just like worked out a lot, plus like ate a lot of food because he was like strong, but like, not like super lean. But yeah, we really enjoyed The Black Phone.
Interesting. Is it me? Oh shit.
Yeah, you.
It's interesting just staring at you two. So my number 4 is The Witch. We've just spoke about it extensively. I don't need to go into too much detail. I think right now it is my favorite over The Lighthouse. Honestly, I'm so back and forth on the two. I'd probably say The Witch just edges it because I've just obviously watched it, but I do need to rewatch The Lighthouse. But yeah, The Witch is my number 4.
My number 4, peak cinema, Malignant. I fucking love Malignant. This movie just oozes cool. It's so unique. It has an entire fucking Matrix sequence in the police station.
That is a good sequence.
One of like my favorite twists ever. Like it's right there with, you know, I Am Your Father, shit like that. It's just such a good, unpredictable. Fucking, it's corny. It's campy at times. The acting is over.
It's a you film.
Yeah, the acting is very overacted at times, but I don't know. I just love and adore this movie. Every time I watch it, I'm just like, oh, it's so cool. So yeah, Malignant is my number 4.
So Seth, you don't like? What do you rate Malignant? You don't like it?
Like a half star.
You're such a bum. You're such a bum.
No, I don't rate like a 2.5. I think. I don't hate it. There's scenes I like. There's a really cool Matrix fight sequence with a head. That shit's weird, man. But I don't know. I wasn't keen on it, but I think it's very much a George Alex Coleman like film. Do you know what I mean? I'm sure Alex rates it even higher than you. I think you might have it.
He gives it a 5 out of 5. I give it 4.5.
I get it. I do get it, but I just it's not, I do want to rewatch it. I think.
Well, maybe that's the thing. Maybe you didn't. Maybe you just didn't understand it. You know.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
But I think I will say this is not related to Malignant. I do actually really want to watch It Follows. I have a sneaky
I
suspicion.
think you will like that movie a lot. I really do.
3, so I still like it, but I guess I do think I'll like it more.
My number 3 is a movie that when I saw it on my spreadsheet, when I filtered it, I thought my spreadsheet was lying because I was like, it made me a little depressed. I was like, man, the 2010s were like a long time ago, like early 2010s, like 2010, 2011, like way longer ago than I thought. Because this movie I for sure thought was like 2004. But Scream 4 is my number 3. My favorite Scream movie.
Shit.
And that just does not feel like a movie that came out in the 2010s. Like that's just, we're getting old, boys.
Yeah. That's
Scream 4 was my favorite Scream. I did have a blast with it. I love Scream always has iconic opening scenes, but I think it's Hayden Panettiere or no, Kirsten Bell. I know is in the first scene. I think she gets murked off in the first scene.
Scream 4 was in the 2010s.
Yeah, I know, dude. I double takes as well. 2011 Scream 4, but Scream 4 is my favorite Scream. I love that whole franchise in general.
I did not know that.
Scream 4 is number 1 for me.
Wow,
shit,
that's crazy.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
All right. Does not feel like that's 2011, but
nah.
Yeah, like 4 years before The Witch, Scream 4 came out. That doesn't compute in my brain.
No, that doesn't compute in my mind. That's weird. So my number 3 is a film we've already spoken about. It's Ari Aster's Hereditary. One of the best films that not only tackles family dynamics and grief, but just an abundance of terror. One of the films that truly scared me on a first watch after having so many horrors not do. A film I've watched over and over again, and I think probably Ari Aster's most visually pleasing film, I'd actually say, over Midsommar, which might surprise you. And also, I remember being in the cinema and watching the fucking head come off, like watching the scene where they're going, that shit fucking, do you know what I mean? Like when I saw it the first time, I was like, Jesus Christ, man. I think crazy. And I think Tony Collette I love as well. And also, oh man, what's the kid's name again? Well, not kid, but
the naked
Wolf.
Alex Wolf.
He was great. And also the dad, I just think really amazing.
Dad was underrated. Not enough people talk about the dad's performance, but he was
I actually think that I think all 3 of them, I think even the woman, the fucking weirdo, I think they were all really, really great, and I think it worked. Everything worked to a T, and I think it was a perfect film for them to be involved in. So yeah, my number 3 is Hereditary.
Mm-hmm. George.
Yeah, my number 3, another movie we've talked about a little bit on this pod today, Robert Eggers' The Lighthouse. Technically, I think this is one of the most brilliant horror films out there. It has some of my favorite shots in horror ever. It's also just like a very haunting, but like oddly intimate take on isolation and loneliness that I just find weird comfort in. And obviously I love Pattinson a ton. I love Willem Dafoe a ton, and I've been advocating a ton. I don't know if both of them or one of them would have been nominated in Best Supporting or Best Leading Actor, but I think either way they should have won, in my opinion. Especially if it was Best Supporting Actor.
You've met both of them as well, haven't you? Well, actually, no. You've seen Willem Dafoe.
I've seen Willem Dafoe.
Yeah,
I did not introduce myself. The same night I met Robert Pattinson.
Yeah.
But yeah, Lighthouse, my number 3. Robert Eggers, obviously, we talked about a ton on this podcast, and I love the guy.
Mm-hmm. Number 2 for me is also a film from last year. Again, my horror bag is not nearly that deep, and I just started watching horror films or just films in general, or no, just horror films mostly last year and this year. So, Watch It with Riley.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed it. What's her name again? Is it Micah Monroe?
Micah Monroe
is great.
It follows.
One of my favorite final shots, not just
So
horror, just
good.
any movie. One of my favorite
So
final shots
good.
in any movie ever. The whole movie, just great suspense. I forgot what the name of the
very Hitchcockian, if I would say.
I definitely can see the influences. It's like the guy's name Gore Burnman or something. That's just like the name in my head. Like
In
the
real
a weird
life,
name like that. Who's the guy who plays like the
Let's see.
killer? Like not, I guess. Yeah, the killer. Obviously, he definitely kills
The
someone. There's a
antagonist.
scene- yeah,
for
very
sure.
obvious. Yeah, but yeah, he was great in it. Super menacing. And when you have like a relationship dynamic like Micah Monroe and her husband have, you always need the husband's actor behind him to be just hateable, so hateable that you just like are just getting enraged every time he's speaking. And definitely, I hated that guy so much. So well done. I know Seth wasn't as high on it, but I loved Watcher. Seth, number 2.
My number 2 is Jordan Peele's Get Out. A brilliant piece of social and political commentary, one of the best debuts. We've spoken about this over and over again. Ton of rewatch value, a perfect script. Number 2 is Jordan Peele's Get Out. So we spoke about it earlier, so I won't go into it too much. But yeah, that's my number 2. And I think it's been around there for a while. It was actually, I remember one of the first 5 stars I actually gave on Letterboxd as well. And it still is now. We're into my, this is into my 5 stars. The top 2 are both 5 stars for me as well.
Okay. I thought that was going to be your number 1. I'm forgetting what your number 1 would
Yeah,
be, but-
so am I now,
yeah,
honestly.
Oh,
George, what's your number 2?
Yeah, my number 2, and my top 3 are 5 stars. Everything else is 4.5. So the Lighthouse was a 5 star as well. My number 2 is Hereditary. My favorite, I guess, psychological horror movie out there. I would edge The Shining just a little bit in terms of quality, but I think, rewatch value, I find myself rewatching Hereditary a lot more than The Shining. I think Hereditary is despicable. I think it's disgusting. I think it's just everything I look for in a horror movie. It frightens me. It makes me sad. But it also just has such an interesting look at family values, relationship values. So it's one of those, just like we were talking about earlier, it's like an evolution of horror where it's not relying on jump scares. It's not a slasher movie or anything. It's genuinely just a great screenplay, just infused with so much just disturbing imagery, and I just can't help myself but just really, really enjoy my time with this movie every time I watch it. As fucked up as that sounds.
Yeah, my number 1's Get Out. Don't need to harp on it too much. We talked about it a lot. Pretty self-explanatory. We're all very high on it, and it's number 1 for me, and I think it is for George too. But we'll wait and see because Seth is next.
True.
yeah. So, no idea what my number 1 is.
I think I'm blanking.
I think I'm just blanking on it.
We
It's
spoke
not,
about it on this
two.
episode.
it's not Malignant, right?
Conjuring 2. I was like a 2.5. No, it's not Malignant. It's we spoke about it on this
Oh,
episode.
to 10.
There we
Oh,
go.
to 10.
Yeah.
Right.
It would have been, so that would have been like 3, but obviously I rewatched it this week and it's really jumped up in my all-time favorites list. Just had, like I said earlier, just a brilliant piece of showcasing, finding oneself, identity, sexuality, visceral, gruesome violence, multiple films in one. It's relentless. It's unapologetically weird. A film that I urge everyone to watch. Not for everyone, don't get me wrong. It's very polarizing, and I know people don't like it, but that is my number 1 horror, body horror, or horror since 2010.
My number 1, Get Out. Just like Tyler said, no need to harp on it too much. It's like I said earlier, it's one of my favorite screenplays in horror. It's one of my favorite screenplays in general. I think it's just such a unique and fresh take on this genre. Crazy directorial debut. So yeah, Get Out, my number 1. Don't need to talk too much about it.
Mm-hmm. Well, there are our top 10 rankings for each of us of the best or our favorite modern horror movies from 2010 or beyond. So I hope you enjoyed that little ranking and discussion of kind of modern horrors in general.